Regular season's over. Miami notched one more win before advancing to the play-in tournament.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to Locked On Heat, your daily podcast on the Miami Heat. I'm Wes Goldberg here with David Ramil. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. We are recording this after the Heat's win over the Hawks in the final game of the regular season. The Hawks rested their starters in this one. The Heat cruised to the win. We're going to hand out some credit cookies and get to our final credit cookie tally here in a second. I know a lot of people are very excited to see where everybody stacked up at the end of the regular season, but the Heat are going to go into Charlotte to play the Hornets as the 10 seed as part of the 9-10 part of the play-in tournament. That game is going to be on Tuesday night in Charlotte. It was, David, an interesting scene after this game. I'm standing with a bunch of reporters in the Heat's locker room with all the players and some equipment staff and people like that, and we're all huddled around the big screen in the middle of the Heat's locker room watching the end of that Celtics Magic game. Because had the Magic done what they were supposed to do and beat a Celtics team that was also resting all of their starters and key players, then the Heat were going to play in Charlotte, but they were going to play in Charlotte on Wednesday instead of Tuesday, giving them a little bit more rest, a whole full day of rest, more than they would have had they had to play on Tuesday. So there we are, reporters, players, all watching together the end of this Magic Celtics game. The Magic rallied back. They tied the game late. Everybody's like, oh, my God. Ultimately, the Magic can't figure it out. The Celtics get the win, and everybody's mad. Every Heat player in that locker room is just screaming at the TV about the Magic blowing it. One player went out, actually was like, I hate the Magic even more now, which I thought was kind of funny.
Which player?
It's just, I could tell you off air. And then it was, it was an interesting scene, David, seeing everybody kind of rooting for that kind of result at the same time. And yet here they are. They're going to have to play Charlotte on Tuesday.
For the 1 day of rest? I didn't think it would matter that much to them at this point, to be honest with you. I'm not sure why. It's not like they haven't faced Charlotte. They faced them twice, even while they've been on the heater that they've been over the last half of the season since January. So I'm a little surprised that they feel like 1 day of rest is enough for them, or 1 day more of rest is enough for them to be like, okay, now we're prepared to take on this Hornets team.
I don't know if it was so much like now we're prepared. This team's going to feel prepared either way, but it is just the 82-game season is over. Wouldn't it be? We didn't even want to be in the play-in tournament in the first place. We could have had a week off. It would have been nice to at least get 2 days off for our bodies, you know? And so, look, at the end of the day, they're going to go into that game. The one player who really seemed unfazed by the entire thing was Bam. Like, everybody in the locker room was just like, yeah, screw the Magic. Of course, Orlando, here you go. I can't take care of business. Classic Magic, all this stuff. And Bam was just like, whatever, dude. Just
the irony.
Right? So, look, this is the Heat end their season by winning 2 games against the Wizards and the Hawks. And with a starting lineup change, having Kel'el Ware starting alongside Bam in these last 2 games against Washington and Atlanta. I want to fast forward, though, to the play-in tournament and where this Heat team is right now as they go into the play-in tournament. So, obviously, this Heat team has a lot of experience in the play-in. The play-in tournament doesn't know there is not a play-in tournament without the Miami Heat, right? They've won it every single way. They've won it as the 7th seed. They've won it as the 8th seed. Last year, they won it having to win 2 games in a row on the road. Should they, now that they have to go into Charlotte, playing a red-hot Charlotte Hornets team, and then they're going to have to play the loser of Orlando and Philadelphia if they win that Charlotte game, they have to play the loser of that Orlando-Philadelphia game on Friday night. How confident should they be in their ability, after what you've seen this season, to make it out of the play-in?
Not very. I don't think so anyway. Again, like as I pointed out, like the irony of them criticizing Orlando for not taking care of business when that's been Miami's MO for the last month. They haven't been taking care of business regularly. So I'm very surprised at that attitude. And going into the play-in tournament, I'm not sure that they should have any sort of confidence level. Whatever happened in the years past is different. Like obviously the roster is different. And they had Jimmy Butler for 2 of those appearances. They didn't have him last year, and they still managed to win those games. So kudos to them for being able to get it done. There's plenty of playoff experience in that locker room, whether it's Bam Adebayo or Andrew Wiggins, guys that have been to the NBA Finals, Tyler Hero, Norm Powell, with their veteran, playoff experience. They should have enough. But the way that they've played of late does not give me the kind of reassurance that I think anybody or any fan should have regarding what they're capable of. This does not feel like the teams that we've seen Miami be in the past, where they accept that challenge, where maybe they're in the play-in tournament for a variety of reasons, whether it's because of a trade or because of an injury that derailed what they were able to accomplish over the regular season. This is a team that was poised to be where the Atlanta Hawks were, where they're in the 5th, 6th seed contention there, where the Toronto Raptors, who they just lost to twice last week, where they were supposed to be in that position. And they weren't because of everything that they've allowed to happen. So moving into Charlotte on Tuesday night for a chance to be able to beat them and then face yet another team, just to be able to get to the opportunity where you could take on the Detroit Pistons, I'm not sure that this Heat team wants that challenge, ready for that challenge, or is capable of accepting that challenge the way that teams in the past have been.
So it all starts with Charlotte. And to me, this is the biggest of all the speed bumps in the way of making the play-in tournament. Because if you look at the other side, if you somehow win in Charlotte, then you're playing the loser of that Philly-Orlando game. And historically, the loser in that game has a little bit of a disadvantage against the winner of the 9-10 game, right? You have one team kind of riding a little bit of a high and some momentum, and the other team not so much, obviously. And also historically, the 7 seed makes it in both conferences. The 7 seed makes it in. Interestingly, because of the Magic's loss in Boston, they dropped from 7 to 8. And Philadelphia now is the 7 seed. And so they're a little bit of a wobbly 7 seed because of this late appendicitis surgery that Joel Embiid had to have. And so if Orlando beats Philly, which I think is definitely possible, but then again, it's Orlando. I think that game is definitely a toss-up. If it's the Magic that the Heat end up playing in that second round, if again they somehow beat the Hornets, well, we know that the Heat have problem with the Magic all season. They can't beat them. They're already 0-5, and now they have a chance to go 0-6 against Orlando in one season, which is pretty remarkable. And then the 76ers, I actually feel better about that matchup. But
absolutely.
But the problem is, I kind of feel better about that matchup when Embiid is playing. Right? Because Miami's entire strategy when they blew the 76ers out a couple weeks ago was, hey, we're gonna run Embiid off the floor. We're gonna basically play on 4 and 5 in the entire game, and then it worked. But with Embiid out, they've got Young and Mbona running up and down the court. They've got a lot of different kinds of options running up and down the court. And I actually feel a little bit worse about that potential matchup because now it's like, okay, well, now I guess it's a Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, and by the way, Paul George has been looking great lately. That's the show that they have to deal with. That to me is a little bit more concerning. So, but this Hornets thing, I mean, to put a number to it, that's the biggest one, right? Like, this is not just a red hot team that's playing well over the last couple of weeks. Only one team in the league has a better net rating than the Charlotte Hornets since the turn of the calendar, and that's the San Antonio Spurs, who might win the whole freaking thing. So. This Hornets team is the most rare of the 9 seeds. The only reason they're in the play-in tournament was because they were so bad at the beginning of the season. But if you've watched this Hornets team, and look, I know Miami's 3-1 against the Hornets. Don't let that record fool you. They got the Hornets twice in the first 3 weeks of the season before the Hornets figured out that they're good. This team is really well coached. It's really dialed in. They're playing good basketball. It's not just, hey, 3-point shootings going in or whatever. They rebound the ball really well. They control the tempo of the game. LaMelo is playing at a third-team All-NBA level. He might make it. Brandon Miller has been great for them. This is a team, I think, in the Hornets that will be favored and should be favored, and probably by a lot. I would probably say FanDuel will probably have it at 8.5 at minimum.
Yeah, I can't see it. Again, Miami has taken advantage of other teams than the play-in tournament that felt like they really didn't want to be there. Kind of in the same place that Miami's in this season. Like either they were taking on an Atlanta Hawks team where they could exploit, Trae Young and his poor defense, and that kind of was just like, well, nobody else is winning games because they're just it's a bad bottom of the Eastern Conference, and we just happened to make it. But it's not like they won so many games the way that the Hornets have in order to get into the tournament, or they were taking on the Bulls as they have in the past, where again it was a Bulls team that was kind of inconsistent. They were just kind of as mediocre as could be. They won enough, they lost enough, and they were just kind of there hovering around 500. It's like, well, somebody has to be that 10th seed. The honor goes to you. So for Miami, they're going up against a team, as you said, that's taking on a really good Hornets team. Like, this is not the same Hornets team that has been in the past. Even when Miami did beat them since that hot streak started, that was very much a playoff kind of intensity to it.
Yeah.
Miami was playing really good basketball. Again, their defense was as good as it had been all season, and they were kind of building those good habits, and they just managed to catch Charlotte on a really good run where Miami was able to do what they do best against a Hornets team that I don't think was prepared for it. But this is very much a different animal. Now, here's the one thing. If there's an advantage to all this, is that Charlotte does not have the playoff experience. There's nobody on that roster that has it. Pat Connaughton's not going to be able to give them the experience they need.
Right. They don't have the playing experience, right? And this is a Heat team that has weathered this storm time and time. It's a storm that they brought onto themselves. They saw the storm in the outside 100%. And they're like, I'm going to go for a walk right now. And that's what they've been doing. But yes, the Heat have the playoff experience, the play-in experience, more than any other team does. They've won the play-in tournament every single way, and they're going to try to do it again this time. But to your point, I think it's a great one. This is an accomplishment for Charlotte to be here. We just saw Bam Adebayo a few weeks ago being like, I don't want to be a play-in team again. It's a disappointment that the Miami Heat are here. And so you've got a Hornets team that's feeling good about themselves. The fact that they were able to turn their season around so drastically and get to this point. This is the point of the play-in tournament, is for a team like Charlotte, right? This is the whole point of it, is to reward a team like Charlotte that isn't good and then gets good, figures it out mid-season, and is able to bounce back and try to make something out of a season that otherwise would have just resulted in another lottery season, and you wouldn't have gotten a chance to prove their playoff medal. And yet here they are, and they're deserving to be here, and that's a good thing. And yet the Heat are deserving to be here, and that's more of sort of a negative thing. We're going to do a full crossover episode between us and Locked On Hornets. We're really going to dive into that matchup, so hold on for that. But coming up next, it is a Miami Heat win. It's the last Miami Heat win of the regular season. You know what time that means. We're coming up. Credit Cookies coming up next.
Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like being in an NBA arena. The crowd, the energy, the moment. Getting tickets, though, well, that part hasn't always been so simple. And that's why Game Time has become the go-to app for scoring tickets fast without the hassle. It puts the advantage back where it belongs, with the fans. You just pull up the Game Time app, you pick up an upcoming NBA game, and you get tickets locked in within minutes. If Miami does wind up advancing and they wind up getting that home game, you might be able to get playoff tickets at a price that you hadn't thought possible, and you could probably get those really quickly and see exactly what you're going to do with the Game Time app. It's so convenient, so easy to use, and you've got their all-in price right up front, so no surprise fees at checkout, so you know you're getting exactly what you're paying for, and you can see the seat from the view from your seat, wherever that might be. If you haven't been at Kaseya Center for some reason, you haven't seen the Heat live, you know exactly where you're going to be sitting and what the view of the court is going to be. But that applies to every venue for any tickets that you're looking for. That's what makes Game Time so convenient, and the prices can't be beat. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON. You get $20 off your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDON. You get $20 off. Download the Game Time app today, and remember, it's gametime.co, not .com. We'll be right back.
Get Locked On Heat ad-free with the Everydayer Club Plus members-only Discord access. Talk with other Heat fans on Discord and fans across the NBA on Locked On's Discord channel. Join the Cookie Gang at lockedonheat.supercast.com to check it out and use the code WATCH to get your first month for free. David, it's another Miami Heat win, the final Miami Heat win of the regular season, which means it's time for the tastiest segment of Locked On Heat. It's time for Credit Cookies. As always, we have 10 cookies to hand out. Where do you want to begin?
Well, again, it was a tough game to kind of get a good sense of it, to be honest with you. But let's start off with, I think, Bam Adebayo. I thought he played a really solid game. Wound up, again, not a very good Hawks team. They weren't deep. They were starting, was it Reza Shea at center, Tony Bradley at center? I couldn't really tell. It was a small Atlanta Hawks lineup.
Tony Bradley, who they signed like a week ago, and Asa Newell, who's a rookie. Yeah, very strange.
No, not correct. Yeah. 11 of 18 from the floor, 1 of 4 from 3-point range. Missed 2 of his free throws, surprisingly enough, for a good shooter like man, but did have 10 rebounds, 3 assists, and 3 steals to go with 2 blocks as well. Finished overall with 25 points and a plus 16. So a good Bam game. And just because of it's Bam and the fact that he was productive, I gave him 3 credit cookies. I just feel like he was the most productive player on the floor,
Yep.
with the exception of one other player. But I think he had a really solid game, and that's why he was
Set the
rewarded with 3
tone.
credit cookies.
Set the tone. 12 points in
Yeah.
the first 7 minutes before he went to the bench. He was like, all right, all business. Take care of this Hawks team. It could be easy to look at this thing and be like, of course it's a walkover. Tony Bradley, what are you doing? But you look at that Orlando Magic team that gave up 27 points to some player on the Celtics that nobody's ever heard of
Jordan
before.
Walsh.
Jordan Walsh and all these other guys. It's the weird stuff happens on the last day of the regular season. There's always one of these games that goes weird,
Yeah.
and if you're Miami, you just don't want to be the weird team. It wouldn't have affected you, right? Ultimately, in the standing, Miami could have come out here and played their Tony Bradleys if they wanted to, right? Like it wouldn't have mattered. But they came out here. They wanted to get the win. They wanted to try to end the season on a bit of a high note here. And Bam came out for 7 minutes, set the tone, said, all right, all business. Let's make sure we take care of it. I think he's very deserving of those credit cookies. What's next?
I've got 1 credit cookie going to Norm Powell coming off the bench. Look, you
just
can
one.
see the stat line. He was productive. Yeah, just 1. He was productive. 25 points. A little inefficient. 8 of 17. Just 3 of 7 from 3-point range. 6 of 6 from the line. So he was able to get to the line more than any other Heat player. So kudos to him for that. But it was just somebody had to put up points. I think I didn't get that sense that he was playing his best basketball. Only played 23 minutes. So it was a game that felt very much like it didn't matter. And although Miami had some slight stakes, on the line here with the game, it just wasn't the same intensity we've seen in the past. So you have to hope that at least Norm in particular has found his shooting stroke and is able to kind of carry that into the playoffs.
I hear what you're saying about the game itself and the low intensity. I'm a little confused. I'm interested to see where the rest of these cookies are going to go, because if you're only giving Norm 1 for scoring 25 points off the bench, I guess we'll find out. I'm going to push back a little bit. I actually thought this was a really important game for Norm Powell. He comes out third quarter, hits back-to-back. It wasn't back-to-back threes. I think Jaime hit a layup in between, but it was like 3-pointer from Norm, a Jaime something, and then a 3-pointer from Norm. And after, I think the Heat had an 18-point lead in the first half, the Hawks cut it to like 8 at halftime, and then they come out in the third quarter, and Norm Powell just sort of boom, boom, takes care of it. It was kind of just like the last thing that they needed to do to stomp out the Hawks here. So I thought those were really important points and really important buckets at an important point in the game. More than anything, though, this was really important for Norm. He has not been playing well. He's coming off the bench again in this one as the Heat make that starting lineup change. Pella out of the starting lineup, Norm out of the starting lineup, Kel'el Ware in the starting lineup. And Eric Spoelstra said after the game, it's the best he thinks Norm has looked physically since these injuries really started picking up and piling up on him. This is really important. Maybe more important than credit cookies and how many he gets or whatever this result of the game was, is the fact that Norm did this going into the play-in tournament. If you want a good Norm Powell, this is a good he sees the ball going through the net. He feels good physically, and hopefully he looks a little bit more like all-star Norm at least Tuesday in Charlotte.
I got 1 credit cookie going to Kel'el Ware, in the starting lineup. Played 29 minutes, played with 16 points, finishing up the game 6 of 9 from the floor, 4 of 5 from 3-point range. So a really good shooting night for him. Only 7 rebounds, but again, limited playing time there. 1 assist, 1 steal. Solid game. I just liked his impact better, especially in the starting lineup. And he seemed like he was handling the challenge of being a starter and playing his best basketball. So is he going to hold on to that starting spot in a game against Charlotte? I tend to think so. I don't know.
I think
that's a tough one.
It feels like – so Spo was asked about this, and he said he feels good about his rotation. So I get the sense that they're going to stick with this for better or for worse. They've just sort of made a decision like they're just going to go with this for now. And I think part of it is you want more size out there. As good as Pella is, he's a little small. And so it's like, all right, well, if that's not going to work for us defensively, then we're going to go ahead. And Pella wasn't available in this game, but he'll be fine for the play-in tournament. I think they're just going with size, and they're aggressively staggering Tyler and Norm. They've decided we just can't defensively. We can't have both of those guys on the court for any amount of time. So I do think Kel'el will end up just starting because whether he deserves it or not, and I'm not saying one way or the other, I just think it does make more sense for the rotation overall. I thought it was a good game from Kel'el. 4 or 5 from 3-point range is obviously what pops out there. And Spo went out of his way to talk about how Kel'el's getting really good at knowing when to shoot those threes now within the rhythm of the offense. I thought that was an interesting note.
I wonder about the starting job moving forward. I guess we can talk about that when we do preview the play-in tournament game. But if I recall correctly, in the last matchup, Ware did not play well. He did not handle Moussa Diabate pretty well. Just that energy wasn't in his favor. And I don't know.
They could go the other way.
They run a small lineup. Yeah, they do go small. So you wonder Wiggins on Miles Bridges or something like that. Like that might be a more advantageous matchup, and then have Bam go up against Moussa. I don't know. There's lots of options, but at least from the perspective of this game, Ware played solid, and you want that kind of energy and confidence building up towards the play-in because he needs to be productive. Whether he comes off the bench or is in the starting lineup, he needs to play his best basketball, and hopefully he gets a taste of that tonight.
Let's do these last few credit cookies quickly.
Yeah, I've got 2 credit cookies going to Keshad Johnson. Okay. I liked his energy. Right, why not? He gets 6 of 8 from the floor, finished with 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals.
Wait a minute.
Really solid game.
These are Keshad's first credit cookies of the season.
Yes, that's another reason.
Wow.
I actually wanted to give one to Vlad Golden for his 3 minutes of play, but I couldn't muster the energy to do so.
We're not a this isn't a charity. This is not a charity.
Why not? It's the last game of the season. And then finally, we probably should have talked about him more, but I think Jaime Jaquez played a really good game. He was Miami's best player on the floor, finished with 26 points. He gets the last 3 credit cookies, 12 of 17 from the line, and 5 assists as well. So just very aggressive. Yep. I really liked his overall energy in this game, and he did showcase some really nice moves as well. So he gets the last 3 credit cookies.
Had a great jump stop.
Perhaps the last 3 of the season, right?
Yeah, might be. I mean, he had a great jump stop that got into the paint, little push shot over the defender. Love that physicality right at the rim. When you're seeing that from Jaime, you're like, okay, now we're really. And similar to Norm, like you want him. It felt like his physical conditioning kind of comes and goes throughout the season, and it does feel like in this game it was a little bit more. It was closer to tip-top shape where you want to see Jaime. Nice way to punctuate, by the way. With 26 points off the bench, a nice way to punctuate his 6th Man of the Year candidacy. That could end up mattering for some voters who waited to submit their ballots here. All right, we do have now our final tally of credit cookies. This is a big one. We're going to talk about that and get to our listener questions after this.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are here. Well, after the play-in tournament. But yes, every possession matters. Every matchup is magnified, and every game can swing a series. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a great way to get in on the action. And here's what you'll like about it. You can bet just $5, and you get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. And the app makes it easy to follow the action with player stats, trends, matchups, all in one place. And during the playoffs, that extra insight really matters when you're looking at stars, role players, and key moments. If you're not sure, maybe you haven't watched the team too much, well, guess what? They've got it all laid out for you. But you've got the insight. You know your team. You know what you're looking for, and that's why FanDuel makes it easy for you to win. Just makes the entire playoff experience more engaging from start to finish. Head to FanDuel.com today to get started. FanDuel, play your game. Today's episode is also brought to you by TurboTax. It's tax time, but for a lot of us, the old ways of doing taxes is a lot. Trying to book an appointment that's not the most convenient. Sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, emailing back and forth and wondering if they really get your situation. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And just like that, you're done. Your TurboTax expert works to get you every dollar you deserve, while you get real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's the relief of walking in and meeting a real person and walking out knowing your taxes are being handled right. So head to TurboTax.com/local to find a store near you and book your appointment today. We'll be right back.
Before we get to our listener questions, we have our final tally of credit cookies for the season. Drum roll. Okay. You want me to start at the top? I should probably start at the top. Or should I go to the bottom and then go top? Let's go bottom. Let's go with the fewest amount of credit cookies. Coming in with the fewest, yes, evidently, Kashad Johnson and Myron Gardner tied with 2 credit cookies on the season apiece.
Yeah. Nice. I like it. I'm trying
Simone
to remember. Gardner got 2 for that one game where he's picked a fight with somebody. Oh,
he got one for that game, and then he got one for that game, and then one in an earlier game. So
I remember that too. He provided a little spark into that first game. Yeah. Okay.
A little Myron boost. Simone Fontecchio, 6 credit cookies for the season, 3rd from the bottom. Inconsistent playing time for Simone, but had a couple games where he hit a bunch of threes, and he got some credit cookies for that. Kasparis Yakachonis, the rookie, 9 credit cookies, tied with Drew Smith. 9 credit cookies, each of them. Nikola Jovic coming in with 10 credit cookies, cracking double digits there. His last round of credit cookies was on January 25th. He had a little run at the end of December and January where he was playing pretty well, and that was obviously before he started incurring some of those more major lower back injuries, and it was basically out of the rotation. Davion Mitchell, 12 credit cookies. Feels like that's a miss.
Yeah. I think it's more about the steady.
Yeah, we took him for granted a little bit.
Maybe. It's a steady productivity. He's not an elite playmaker, but he was solid in some aspects and some occasions that way. Solid defense, but not overwhelmingly great either.
Right.
His shooting was never he never had I don't even think he had a 20-point game all season long, to be honest with you. So it was just always kind of right there. You know what you're getting from him. It's probably about 12 to 15 points, maybe 4 of 7 from 3-point range in a really good game. And that's basically what it boils down to.
He had one 20-point game all year in a loss, so that we don't award credit cookies after losses on April 1st against Boston. So Andrew Wiggins, 25 credit cookies.
Huh.
Feels like we could have moved some of those Wiggins cookies to Davion. But maybe that's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes.
Yeah.
Tyler Hero, 34 credit cookies despite missing most of the season.
Impactful.
That's pretty impressive for Tyler.
Yeah.
Pelle Larson, 40 credit cookies. And into the top 4 here, there's a pretty clear tier. Kel'el Ware, 51 credit cookies. This is where you and I think, maybe is our second biggest disagreement in how much you credit Kel'el. I think it's mostly what we have as expectations, and every time he plays well, it's like, wow, let's really kind of. But then again, when Kel'el plays well, the Heat play really well, so maybe this is less surprising, right? And when he doesn't play well, we don't reward the credit cookies because the Heat lose typically. Jaime, 54 credit cookies in his 6th Man of the Year season.
That feels right.
Yeah. Norm, 56 credit cookies as an All-Star.
Also appropriate. And I know this is where a lot of fans probably will roll their eyes about it. But
Bam Adebayo, 70 credit cookies. Our top cookie getter, 70 credit cookies. Not only is he our top cookie getter, ran away with it. So congratulations to Bam Adebayo. You are our number 1 cookie getter for the season. I think very much well deserved.
You even take away the 10 credit cookies we gave him for the 83-point night, and he's still
number 1. Yep.
Yeah, there you go. I think that shows the overall impact. Plus, he played more games than I think even any of the other contestants. So, players. I don't know. It feels like this is more
contestants for our purposes. Congratulations to all the contestants. You were all nominated and very deserving. With Bam Adebayo,
does he get a T-shirt or some kind of award? Or
I should have told
a warm place in our heart. I don't know.
If the Heat play another home game, I am going to tell Bam that he finished with the most credit cookies on our podcast.
I can't wait for the expression that produces too.
Let's go to our questions from the Cookie Gang. You can submit questions and hear yourself on the post-game show by joining the Everydayer Club and joining the All Access tier for $15 a month, or sign up for the yearly subscription, save 17%, or just use the code MARCH and you get your first month for free. Tap the link in the show notes to check it out. Cameron writes in, real fans know that this was always a win-win. You either get to watch your favorite team play more basketball games or you get a better pick. Love the positivity, Cameron. Andrew writes in, what was the over-under as the season started? I'm guessing this team wasn't far off their expectations. David, correct me if I'm wrong. I think the over-under for Miami on FanDuel was 39.5. So they end up with 43 wins on the season. So we got the over by a pretty good margin.
Yeah, but less than what we expected. I think you had him at 46 or 47
I had him
wins.
at
I think I had him at
46.
48. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I had him at 48. So I think they kind of underachieved a little bit, but yes. I guess
That
Vegas
FanDuel line was always ridiculous. Like there was no way
was
this
really
team
low.
wasn't. This was going to be a less than 500 team. William B writes in: Is there a trade for Giannis this offseason?
No.
If there is a trade for Giannis this offseason, when do you think that's going to happen? Before, during, or after the draft? David, I personally think before, because I think the
same.
Bucks are going to want to just figure this out and have a pick in what is supposed to be a really good draft. But if Giannis really does do the thing where he just postpones and postpones and postpones, waits all the way till October to give them a definitive on the extension, they could wait. But I still think if he doesn't commit to an extension, basically right now they've already fired Doc Rivers, so they're making moves. I think this is a front office that's going to move quickly. I expect something before the draft.
You think Michael Malone regrets taking that UNC job?
I think he knew that Bucks job was going to come open, and I don't think.
wasn't
Wait,
interested.
why? Because I mean, he wasn't going to coach Giannis. You think he was like super stoked about coaching Miles Turner in Milwaukee? Probably not.
I think he. Well, maybe you're right. I guess that's the assumption then, is that maybe people who are connected or kind of read the tea leaves in a certain way, their assumption is that this is not a job that you want to take,
Right?
Because Giannis is not going to be with this team next year, whether he's in
there's some
Miami
weird
or
stuff.
anywhere else. That's up in the air. But
There's some
he's
weird
not
stuff
gonna
with
be a
ownership in Milwaukee too. It's getting to Sacramento Kings levels of kind of. I don't know if I kind of want to work for that organization right now. It's not good.
Yeah, that's fair.
Billy writes in, I know as a Heat fan that we're all down on the Heat, but I saw an interesting stat that the Heat are 0-12 against Boston, Toronto, and Orlando. Those three teams are responsible for 30% of our misery. Is that something or nothing that these three teams just have our number? I think it's something. Those are three playoff-ish teams. Orlando, we'll see.
Did you see Spo's comments about that recently? If you take away those teams, which we can't
hated
do,
that.
yeah, it's like, okay.
I hated that.
If you don't lose, you win, and that we would have been a lot better. It's like, yeah, but you did lose, so it's not worth
Right.
pointing out. Is it something? Yeah, it's something. I don't know that they have your number necessarily, but they match up well with Miami in a way that Miami can't take advantage of.
What do those
It's
three
all
teams
about
have in
grit.
common, right? Size.
Size. I think in Boston's case, passing, and I think Orlando's case specifically size, and they're able to just bully Miami in a way that Miami is accustomed to doing the bullying.
Right.
And then what's the other team you mentioned? Toronto.
Yeah. To
Yeah,
me, it's the
that's
size
size.
across, like outside of the big men, it's the size across the other positions that really stands out with Boston and Toronto. They're able to jam up Miami's offense, right? Like all of a sudden, those driving lanes that Miami needs, it's when you got those long arms out on the perimeter, it just jams them up. And I think that's been a big problem for him. Flavio writes in, the Heat never do what they're supposed to do, so they're going to make the playoffs. They're going to lose in the second round, and they're going to get the worst first-round pick possible and run the same roster again this season. Thoughts?
Here's hoping.
I know you're a fan of that. I don't know. We'll see. That's going to do it for us today here on Locked On Heat. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe, follow Locked On Heat so you get all the latest episodes. The regular season's over, but we're not done yet. We've got the play-in tournament coming up Tuesday night in Charlotte. We're going to have our crossover episode with the guys at Locked On Charlotte. Doug and Walker do an awesome job. Tune into Locked On Charlotte, Locked On Hornets, just generally over the next couple of days, and then especially into the crossover episode that we're planning on doing. We'll obviously have our post-game reactions and hopefully not a season wrap-up, maybe hopefully a season wrap-up. I don't know. Make sure you tune in. We're going to have everything you need to know. Also, make sure that you sign up for the Everydayer Club. Join the Cookie Gang. Get Locked On Heat ad-free, plus members-only Discord access, and more. We're going to be talking about the draft, the offseason, the playoffs, everything. Head to lockedonheat.supercast.com to join the club.